The third set of spoilers from the upcoming Legends of Runeterra expansion have been revealed. This time focusing on the Shadow Isles region. We've got another brand new champion being added to the game along with another new keyword. In this video, we'll be covering the third champion revealed from the next set, Maokai, as well as the new keyword known as Toss. Just like the last video, we'll be talking about what Maokai does, how the new Toss keyword works in game along with the other spoilers shown, and I'll also be giving some initial thoughts on the types of decks Maokai will likely fit best in and how these new spoilers could affect the metagame. As always, I'm going to be very cautious when it comes to making meta predictions. It's fun to do, but we need to keep in mind that we haven't seen all the cards in the set yet, so it's difficult to say whether Maokai or Toss will be good or not, because for the most part, we only have the base set to go off of, and the cards from this new set as a whole will be what changes the meta. Anyway, let's get right into it. Let's start off with Maokai. Maokai is a 4-mana champion from the Shadow Isles region. He has 1 power and 4 health at level 1. Maokai states that the first time you play another ally each round, you toss 2 and summon a sapling, which is a 1-mana token card with 2 power and 1 health and has ephemeral and challenger. In order for Maokai to level up, you must have your units die or your cards tossed a total of 25 times during the game. And this is a combined total, so you can have 10 units die and 15 of your cards tossed, and you will meet the requirement, for example. Keep in mind, just like Sejuani, Maokai does not need to be in play to meet his level up requirement. Before we get into Maokai's level 2 card, let's talk about what the new Toss keyword is. The way Toss works is that any card you play that has the Toss keyword followed by a number means that you must obliterate that many cards from the bottom of your deck that aren't champions. Just as a reminder, obliterate means they are removed from the game entirely. In Maokai's case, the first time you play a unit each round, you obliterate the bottom 2 cards of your deck that aren't champions and summon a sapling. There were other cards spoiled that also have the Toss keyword, and we'll get to those in a bit, but let's talk about Maokai's level 2. So when Maokai levels up, he has 2 power and 5 health, gains regeneration, and in addition, he obliterates the entire enemy deck, except for 4 non-champion cards. Keep in mind this still won't include any champion cards still in your opponent's deck. So with Toss, we are now getting what's come to be known in the card game community as a mill mechanic. For those new to the scene, the word mill originated from Magic the Gathering. That was derived from a card they have called Millstone, an artifact card costing 2 mana that, while in play, you could pay 2 additional mana and tap the card to discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, and they will go into their graveyard or discard pile if you come from other card games. Millstone was the card that started this whole archetype of decking your opponent, and control decks were built around this fact. And this style of play is still around to this day. It's pretty much agreed that control decks are the best way to build a deck based around decking your opponent, since it's the only type of deck that's actually been successful at doing so at any point in history, not just in Magic, but in other card games as well. So I expect Maokai to show up in some form of Shadow Isles control deck. That said, I don't think Maokai will show up in any of the existing Shadow Isles control decks, like War Mother Control, because Maokai is a completely different win condition from any of the cards you see in the control decks we've come to know so far. Even a deck like Spooky Karma wouldn't play Maokai. They already have Karma. I've said my piece on Karma in another video about how she'll continue to be a problem for the game, so I won't rant anymore about it here, but maybe Maokai could compete with Karma for the throne of the ultimate late game win condition. We'll have to see. Either way, I think Maokai is going to bring about completely new Shadow Isles control decks. He won't be slotted into existing ones. We just have to hope there's enough support cards for that deck to exist. I've always been a pretty big fan of these mill archetypes in card games, so I'm definitely going to be trying to build a deck around Maokai and attempting to make it work. Speaking of support cards, let's talk about the other cards that were revealed with Maokai, starting with Thorny Toad. First off, nice reference, Riot. Can we just clap it up for Riot? Very good play on words. Well played. Well played. Okay, back to the card. This is a 2 mana follower with 1 power and 4 health and it has a last breath ability that states that when Thorny Toad dies, you toss 2 cards and heal your Nexus by 2. So this seems like a decent support card for the new Maokai control decks. This card is not designed to actually kill anything unless it's a small token like a 1/1 spider. This is designed to stall the game for as long as possible. A 1/4 stat line isn't threatening at all, but it can be mildly annoying to get through in the early game. Not only that, you heal your Nexus by 2 when Thorny Toad finally does die. If we don't get anything better to support this archetype at the 2 slot from Shadow Isles, this might be a key player in that Maokai control deck. It seems to be best against aggro decks, but not much else. It'll really depend on what the best region pairing is with Shadow Isles though. Let's talk about Dead Bloom Wanderer next. This is a 3 mana follower with 3 power and 2 health that has lifesteal and states that when it's summoned, you toss 3 cards. Yet another card that is trying to support this slower Shadow Isles control deck focused around Maokai, and eventually decking your opponent. This is another unit that attempts to stall the game until you get to that point, and might stay more relevant than Thorny Toad as the game goes on. The lifesteal more than makes up for the 2 health. It's good against aggro, and even against mid-range decks that have done a bunch of damage to you in the mid-game. This also trades better against the current crop of mid-range decks we have than Thorny Toad does, who is really only truly good against aggro. In particular, it trades well with other popular 3-drops in set 1 since 3/3 is a popular stat line. It doesn't shine as much versus Piltover and Zon thanks to Mystic Shot, and Demacia thanks to their crop of challenger units. So if those cards and regions remain popular, Maokai decks might not want to run this card. One cool thing, however, is that depending on how the Maokai deck is built, we might be able to do some revive shenanigans to bring this guy back multiple times to toss again, if we have the deck slots for it. Next, let's talk about Overgrown Snapvine. This is a 7 mana unit with 4 power and 3 health. And while this is in play, every time you summon a follower, you kill it to summon an Overgrown Snapvine instead. So this card is the only card that doesn't seem to fit with the theme of Maokai control decks. Instead, we'll probably see this in decks that like to generate additional units with their cards, or tokens, if you will. It would probably be at the top of the mana curve in those decks if we get something else in set 2 that has a similar strategy. I'm not even sure if those decks want this though. This just seems too expensive for what it does, so I think there's a good chance this actually doesn't see play anywhere. You usually want some type of immediate effect anytime you spend 6 or more mana for a unit, but not always. Other units have definitely gotten away with not having that type of effect in the past. I'm still skeptical though. Even the stat line is pretty low for a 7 cost unit, despite it being able to effectively copy itself. Finally, there was one spell card revealed called SAP Magic. This is a 3 mana burst spell that tosses 3 cards and heals your allies by 3 health. This is another card I'm a bit skeptical on, but we really have to wait and see if there's any other toss cards we're going to get from this new set. I could see SAP Magic really being played if the Maokai control deck is strapped for cards with the toss ability. But between toss and the other ways Shadow Isles can kill your own units, I don't think that's going to be the case. Again, we need to wait and see what the rest of the set offers, but I'm doubtful of this card seeing play since you probably wouldn't get its full effect until the late game. That's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like the video below or even share it with others. Both help to get the video out there to others in the community here on YouTube. I'll be looking to cover more of the new cards as they're spoiled over the next few weeks. So if you don't want to miss those videos or any other videos I put out, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell icon. And feel free to follow me at the other social media places I hang out at. You can catch me streaming Runeterra live on Twitch, as well as hanging out on Twitter and even my own Discord. Links to all of those are in the video description. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you next time. Take care.